All right, good evening, Holliston, and welcome to the May 15th, 2025 meeting of the Holliston School Committee. Before we begin, we are going to be meeting in hybrid order because we have one member on Zoom, and so I'll read the statement pursuant to the Governor's March 31st, 2025 Act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, GLC 30A, paragraph 20. The Holliston School Committee will be using remote participation for this meeting. The audio of this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the town's webpage as soon as possible in accordance with the keeping the public informed of actions during this meeting. At this time, a roll call of attendance will be taken. Joe.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Sarah.
Here.
Cynthia.
Here.
Dawn.
Here.
Hillary.
Here.
And I am here. We are now in order, and so we will be moving along to, we'll just do the consent agenda first. Do I hear, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All right, Joe.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Hillary. Nope.
Yes.
Damn, you put the thing. Sarah.
Yes.
Cynthia.
Yes.
Dawn.
Yes.
And I am a yes, so that carries. So Ms. Mills, if you'd like to come forward now, we can, yeah, sorry, with your crew. We'll pull all that forward with the Global Citizen Program.
I know.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Okay, am I close enough to the mic? Okay. So I'm Caitlin Mills. I know we've met before. I'm one of the history teachers here at the high school, and I'm also the coordinator of the Global Citizens Program. I'm here tonight with three lovely students that are in the program right now, and Shauna Frost, who is an English teacher, but also one of the advisors of the program as well. And just before we hear from our students, I wanted to just give you an update on the progress and the success of the program. This is our third year with the program. It's been 3 years since it was launched, and it is growing tremendously. We've gotten a lot of student support and interest over the past 2 years. This year we had about 90 students actively involved in the program. We currently have 12 seniors that are going to be graduating. Some are earning endorsements, some are being recognized as participants in the program. And then the younger grades, the numbers just keep growing. Right now we have about 70 plus 8th graders who have expressed interest in the program and taking the Intro to Global Citizens class next year, which will bring us up to about almost 130 students in the program next year, which is really exciting. It's a little overwhelming because we manage all those students, but we're just so excited that the interest is there, and that there are students who are, sincerely, genuinely interested in global citizenship. Before I move on, I do introduce our students here. We have Jax Vaughn. Jax is a current 11th grader. We have Ethan Neville, who's also an 11th grader, and then we have Braden Rotz, who's a current 10th grader in the program. They just went with us overseas to Italy and southern France on our amazing trip. I'm going to have Ms. Frost just talk a little bit about the trip itself. She was our point person who organized the whole trip, and then we'll hear from our students.
So first of all, I just want to acknowledge how amazing our students were on this trip. They represented Holliston with pride. And everywhere we went, we were complimented by our tour director, local tour guides, our bus driver, acknowledged that we were the best group that he's ever worked with. And, really, really just loved our group of students. They were inquisitive and curious. They asked questions on local tours. They dove right in, counting spores under microscopes and learning about sustainability. And anytime there was an opportunity to participate and get their hands dirty, they did. They just stepped forward. The best part was seeing our GCP students really get to know each other, and students from different grade levels who generally don't cross paths other than our meetings were really bonding and just learning about one another. And the 36 students who returned from this trip can easily tell you that they're now lifelong friends, that they've kept their group chats and they're saying hello in the hallway, and it just really nurtured that community within the program and those relationships. So we're looking forward to more opportunities like this. It was really a specialty experience, science, technology, engineering, and agriculture. We had a lot of fun and a lot of laughs. We were silly and goofy, but there was an amazing amount of learning and curiosity that took place. It was such a lovely blend that we couldn't have mirrored really, I think, anywhere else. It was really unique to Northern Italy. So I'm going to turn it over to the students, and they will tell you a little bit about their experiences on the trip.
And before we do, we did share a slideshow with pictures.
Yeah, can you put it up? I don't know any of those places, so I'm curious.
Yeah, I know.
I know, I've never been there, so I'm like,
It's
oh.
making me really hungry now.
Well, I do have to say the food was incredible. It was
incredible.
amazing.
And it looks like you guys got to do a cooking class.
Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
you're on
We made
pasta.
pasta.
Was it good?
It was amazing.
It was so good.
It was so good.
So good.
The make your own pasta was like the best pasta there. Yeah, I think.
Have you replicated at home yet?
I know, right?
Oh my God, it's so not.
No samples?
I know. You didn't bring samples? Come on.
Okay.
Customs with
Yeah,
water.
awesome. Thank you for pulling that up.
Okay, Jack.
All right, so I'll start. So my name is Jax Vaughn, and I had the privilege of not only doing the Italy trip, but I also did the French exchange program before for 4 weeks, and I'm the only student in the whole school that did it, and I am so glad I immersed myself in both programs. I love them both. They were both amazing. But I will say this week in Italy and France was probably the best part of my 6 weeks in Europe. It was amazing. I think the first day we were there, everyone was adjusting to it. I'd already been adjusted to jet lag for a while, but we started with Easter there. It was one of our first days, and we had the privilege to walk around Turin, or as they say, Torino, and there was the opportunity for many students to go to the Catholic Church to go to attend Mass for Easter. We were able to have that cultural experience, and then explore foods we wanted to. The best food I had was probably on Easter. I got a nice big lamb, and it was delicious. But yeah.
And you can feel free
Yeah,
to
feel free
scroll
to
through the
scroll
photos
through.
as the students chat.
The
Yeah.
first night there, we had lasagna, and yeah.
All right,
Going
I'll jump right in.
Okay.
We'll move on to day 2, or and so on, because as Jess stated before, we kind of worked our way into the Italian culture slowly, because we arrived, we were all very, very tired. Okay, we all kind of made our own little friend groups starting at the beginning, because evening out who you're going to hang out with and who you're going to travel with in a foreign country is a little challenging. But then as we slowly ease our way into the trip, it was wonderful building all the friendships that we could, because at the end of the week we were all connected somehow. We were in a group chat, we were walking with each other on the farms, we were building or making pasta together,
We stargazed together.
Yeah, exactly. There was even a time I think Braden was there too, but I know it was me, Jackson, 5 other kids. We were out on this terrace at our hotel looking at the stars, and the sky was amazing. All right? I mean, it was a fantastic time.
We got all the
Okay?
snacks
Yes.
there. We got to look at the stars together
was
and just talk about our
wonderful.
week.
Food looks good.
It was amazing.
I
That's the lamb, and that's
I like the
Easter
blazer
from
on
Easter.
your tour. Is that your tour guide, I'm guessing? very loud, the one that's the
Where?
one previous, but that's okay.
Oh, that was a street performer.
Oh, the street performer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that
That was the street performer. And then this is like the hotel.
All right, I can pick it up from there. So all three, Ms. Frost and my two fellow students here, they expressed it very well. I thought the relationships that we made were really unbelievable. I thought I connected with a lot of different people. So I can move on to when we were in Cuneo, I believe. We went out and we did this tour of these vineyards, and that was just unbelievable. I mean, it's so much different from here. You wouldn't expect to see anything like that here. It was literally like you look straight and just forever you'd see vineyards, and the educational part of it was there was no chemicals involved at all, especially the one we went to where they made, was it wine, right?
Yeah.
They made wine. There was no chemicals at all involved, and I thought that was,
How was the
that was
wine?
awesome. What's that?
How was the wine?
Oh, I couldn't try it.
There you go. All right.
Couldn't try it. Yeah, so
They
that.
did get to sample olive oil, though.
Yes, we did
Oh,
that.
that's
And
cool.
the olive oil
That's
was
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know, tried to bring some home, but couldn't get it on the plane, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the vineyards were awesome. And all of our tour guides that we had, like EF set it up perfectly for us where every day it was structured where we had the perfect amount of free time. We had, you know, great meals, time to spend with each other and with our chaperones as well. We did, that picture that you just saw was an apple orchard. We had the opportunity to go to an apple orchard and see, you know, how these fruits were grown sustainably, how they were grown environmentally friendly. And that was super cool because we got to try them without it being processed, without the chemicals being on them. It tasted so natural, and it tasted just so good. And like the food, if you've never been, it's the best food you'll ever have. I mean, that was one of my highlights, was the food. But again, the views, especially the vineyards, that was probably one of my favorite parts. And then going to like the cities, we went to Monaco for a day. That was really, really beautiful. We took a tour there. It's very wealthy. But overall, I'd say the vineyards were my favorite part. You know, just the educational part of it was important to me on how, like, I can express it to somebody, and if somebody here was a farmer, they could use this, and it could help agriculture in the United States excel to a further level so we can have healthier foods. So that's my piece, if anybody else would like to step in.
I would definitely say, especially because, you know, as GCP students, we're focused around sustainability and caring for our environment and building connections with, you know, everyone around the world. We're global citizens, you know, and to be able to learn about how people do it across the Atlantic Ocean is a learning experience that I wish everyone was fortunate enough to have, because it's truly an amazing experience, and you learn so much, you know, having this opportunity. And we watched, in Miss Frost's Intro to Global Citizens class, we watched a show with Zac Efron in it called Down to Earth, and he goes to a bunch of different places and talks about sustainable farming and how people, you know, cook food there and what they do to care for the environment, and being able to see those things and do those things that they were doing in that show was just an incredible experience.
Yeah, we were like in an episode of one of that shows.
Yeah, it was amazing.
In that show, he goes around and gets like water from water fountains, because they have like public water fountains everywhere, but like they're really cool and old in the ground. And we saw they were everywhere in Italy, and it was amazing. But then also like just being around the different languages too, not only the food and like just like the general culture, just hearing the languages, and like I feel like we all picked up some Italian and some French. Like I obviously like knew French from my 13 years in French immersion, but I picked up a bunch of Italian, and we just learned a bunch of different sayings. Like I don't know, I forgot that ciao was a word before I went there.
Buongiorno and just everything, yeah. Yeah, and it was tricky because we started picking up the Italian very quickly, and it was tricky when we crossed into France, and it was bonjour instead of buongiorno, and, merci instead of grazie, and we were trying to shift languages, and then a lot of us also speak Spanish. I speak Spanish, so, I was like, hola. We were just all over the place. But this is why, with our Intro to Global Citizenship students, when we're watching Down to Earth with Zac Efron, it's been the dream of the advisors, Ms. Mills, the students, to put that into practice and not just watch episodes in my classroom, but to go and do these things.
Yeah. And then we got to swim in the Mediterranean Sea on the very last day. I think the last day, we went, it was like a full-on. We went to Monaco, we went to Ez, we went to Nice, we swam in the ocean. Then we went back to the hotel, packed, and 5 hours later we were out of there on the planes. Yeah. So it was but I think that was my favorite day, honestly.
I agree, to be honest.
And once more, these students were gems. They were extraordinary. I was calling them my ducklings the whole time, 36 of them, just behind the chaperones, showing up when we asked them to show up, polite, gracious, curious. It was an absolute joy to chaperone this group, and it was a reminder to me how valuable travel is, especially in another country outside of North America too, outside of the United States and North America, to really immerse ourselves in different cultures and experiences that just can't be mimicked anywhere else.
Can I just say thank you to both of you, because I think it was a few years ago when you approached me and came up with creative solutions as to how we could make this happen, and you put in all the hard work with the Calais, and it's a tribute to your hard work and efforts and your creative solutions. So I'm thankful. I see the kids in the classroom when I come visit, and it's nice to see the real world application of what we do here. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was great.
Yeah.
Good job.
We want samples, though.
Yeah.
I won't be here, but, you get some.
Next time.
I have a picture of the business that was selling the olive oil, so.
All right, you can email it to us.
I have perfume in my car.
Next meeting, we can have a tasting. We can have a tasting.
Sure. What?
We'll get a taste of Italy and France right here.
Thank you for supporting GCP.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, back to up into the agenda. So report from our student representative.
AP's exams are ending tomorrow. Prom is also tomorrow. Boys tennis senior night was yesterday. Girls tennis senior night is Monday, May 19th. Girls and boys track senior night was on Wednesday, May 7th. Softball senior night was on Monday, May 12th. Baseball senior night was on Monday, May 12th. Seniors' last day of classes are next week, May 23rd, and finals are on the 27th and the 28th. Art Saves Lives is tonight at the high school from 4 to 8 p.m. National Honor Society induction is May 20th, and Class of 2025 graduation night cruise tickets are still on sale, but they'll close on May 30th.
Great, thank you. So before we get to all of our school committee individual comment, though, I'm sure I probably won't be the only one. I did just want to take a moment to recognize that this is Cynthia's last sort of official full committee meeting after 10 years. 10 years of dedicated service to the district. And, Cynthia has played an instrumental role in getting the district to where it is today, and her passion and dedication to the students is unparalleled. So, while we didn't always agree, okay, we disagreed on many things. It's just, to be honest, I always knew that you came from a place of true caring and dedication. So, your tenure has also brought a great asset to the committee, and the fact that you have been here for so long and known so many things, that your historical sort of knowledge set will definitely be missed and something that lost to the committee. So thank you very much, and good luck in your retirement, obviously.
I still live here, so.
You still work here.
Still work here, still work here.
That's why retirement's in quotes, because
Yes, yeah. I'm sure I get like 6 months reprieve before Stacy Raffi wraps me into something else.
And Cynthia, I also wanted to say on behalf of school committee, but also myself, because we've been together for a number of years, I wanted to extend my thank you and your dedicated service. I mean, you're absolutely a workhorse. And again, we're grateful for your time, your energy, your passion, and I wish you the best in everything.
Thank you.
Future endeavors.
Thank you.
So with that, though, we'll get to the rest of the school committee individual comments. Unless you'd like to take a moment to.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
start,
I wouldn't go in turn, but I just.
No, go ahead.
Okay, well, I had to write it down because it's short. I'm not going to talk forever. I could, but I won't. So I just wanted to say that it's been an honor to serve on the school committee for the last 10 years. I thank the residents for entrusting me with this role. I thank the educators, the administration, both present and former. Shout out to Keith. For putting up with my sharing is caring philosophy, which often meant that you got to spend extra time with me after meetings pretty often. I appreciate your guidance, your expertise, your dedication to serving the children of our district. I thought a lot about what I should say, but it really boils down to this, relationships, and I talked a little bit about this with Sarah and Frank recently, or today, that I feel like the relationships in the Costa District amongst our community partners has been fractured over the past years, and I think it's going to take considerable effort to change course. I'm hopeful that new members on the committee are ready and willing to take on this challenge, and I encourage you to take the time to listen, to learn, to establish goals and protocols on how you're going to work together as a team so you can focus on this essential work based on a shared commitment to respectful collaboration and compromise. Public education is fundamental to the success of our democracy, and just because I'm leaving the committee does not mean that I'm not going to continue to advocate for students every day to have a high quality, free and appropriate education that every child in this country deserves. So that's all I'm going to say. Keep it short. So thanks.
Sure.
So last week, I received a letter from a parent, and they asked that it be read at tonight's meeting. However, they wish to remain anonymous so as to protect the identity of their child, who is a student in the Holliston Public Schools. But I did want to read it because it truly highlights the great work that our faculty and staff put in and day out. It says, "We understand that school committee meetings are part of the public record. While we wish to maintain the privacy and anonymity of our child, we also feel it is important to share our experience and have asked that this statement be read on our behalf. Our child is a student at Miller School and had been thriving both socially and academically with the support of an IEP. However, midway through the school year, new challenges emerged that significantly impacted the child's ability to engage in learning. As parents, this has been an emotionally taxing experience. Throughout this time, the staff at Miller School has been nothing short of extraordinary. From the first signs of concern to today, everyone, from the principal to the front office staff, has shown unwavering support and genuine care for our child. We know that navigating an IEP and special education processes can sometimes feel adversarial, but that's not been our experience at Miller. Instead, the team has come together to work within the system in a collaborative and compassionate way, creating a plan that allows our child to continue learning while moving toward a more typical school experience. While many individuals play important roles, we want to extend special thanks to Kara Hernan, Victoria Briggs, Emily Lurie, Brielle Chadsey, our child's classroom teacher, and Jackie Weiner at Holliston Youth and Family Services. Each of these individuals has supported not only our child, but us as parents as well, something we were surprised and grateful to discover. We also wish to acknowledge others who have contributed, even if not named here directly. Thanks to the coordinated efforts of the entire team, we feel confident that we are on a positive path forward. We are grateful for the professionalism and dedication that define the staff at Miller School, Thank you for your continued commitment to our child's well-being and in the level of trust you provide. So kudos to the staff at Miller.
Great to hear.
That's great. That's great. It's nice. Always it's great to hear about the positive things too, right?
For sure.
Thank you for reading that.
Thanks.
Sure.
I thank you for the parents who
Yeah.
reached out and gave you that story.
Absolutely.
That warms my heart. Thank you.
So nice.
Really good story.
That's it.
Frank?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned that Art Saves Lives. I had the opportunity to walk through for a bit, and I know it'll be over by the time we're done here for sure.
Yeah.
But
It always coincides, which bums me out.
some really impressive stuff out
Yeah,
there.
there's
Even some of the most basic I could never do, so I give the students a ton of credit. I also want to thank Cynthia. I know being the longest, you are the longest, right?
Right now.
Right now,
Yeah.
right? Because Dawn, you're
I'm not the
done.
longest serving ever. But
Not ever, for now. Bringing that sharing is caring and building relationships was important to see during this tumultuous time with a number of different parties to deal with, challenges we had to meet and take on. I will hope and ensure that we don't lose that. And I'm assuming you'll come visit public comment.
Oh, sure.
Better. So, thank you.
Still have your cell phone numbers, too.
Block. Totally good.
Who does?
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'll echo the statement on Art Saves Lives. It was really impressive. I was able to walk through this just before this meeting, which was great. It's always fun to see the art from all of the ages, from the little ones at Placentino up to the high school. So it's just wonderful to see. I hope everyone has fun at prom tomorrow. Please be safe, everyone. And then, yes, thank you, Cynthia. We've done policy, we've done evaluation, we've worked together a lot, and I do appreciate you've really been a mentor and helped me understand how a lot of this stuff works. It's a complicated role here. So you've been through a lot of various changes. We've, COVID, you've really seen us through a lot of the school through a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been great to work with you, too. I just want to say happy graduation. For you to say
Yes.
that, because I have a graduate. You have a
Yes, I do
graduate.
too.
And I'm going to my daughter's graduation this weekend, so it's a busy time. And Dawn, happy graduation to your girls, too. It's exciting.
Very briefly, the high school production of Clue was a success with sold-out performances. HMEPA had also updated that the Rams chorus and band concert will be Thursday, May 22nd here at the high school. And again, we've all mentioned Art Saves Lives, but it is a fantastic presentation, so get on over here and check it out. I wanted to say thank you to our student representatives. I know the transition usually happens either at the next meeting or in June, but your time is valuable in what you're doing. We really appreciate you've challenged us and brought the input from students, and I know it's hard. I mean, you're really trying to represent a broad range of students, and you come to these meetings and keep us current on what's going on in the high school and listen to our discussions on various issues. But it's so important what you do in representing them, and thank you. And also good luck on all future endeavors. Congratulations on graduation, and thank you. Thank you.
Hillary?
I wanted to thank Cynthia as well. I appreciate the way that you advocate for students in each meeting and the way that you lead with questions to push our thinking deeper. I just really want to thank you for your continued commitment to the Holliston Public Schools.
Thank you.
And I have nothing further because I think it's all sort of been said.
Yeah.
So now we have public comment, and I don't. Is it who's here for Barbara and
I am.
Jess too? Okay. So Barbara, why don't you go ahead, and we'll keep it I think, to 3 minutes, let's say.
And I do have something for another public comment that's read.
Oh, okay.
So that person can. here or here?
Wherever.
Hi, Barbara Ryan, 14 Urban Place. Good evening. First, I really was inspired by the global citizens that were here. I wanted some of the food, and I could feel their trip, and I think it's so important that we continue to support that. But it was really just a delight to hear them.
You could chaperone, Barb.
Maybe I will.
I might too.
We just might do that in all our free time. What else? I'm going to save Cynthia for last. But I too just walked through the Art Saves Lives last night just because I was here for another thing, and just impressed with our students. And I think I think you're all supportive of the arts and music and arts in our schools, and I think that's something that's evident here that's so important to our students and our families. So that was just inspiring to see. And I'm a stick figure artist, so I really appreciate every medium I saw. Just wonderful. I think also the other night, Gerald Vernay and Lieutenant Barrett and our officers were here, our resource officers, and it was Safe, Smart, and Secure. And it's about cyber safety and helping to educate parents. It was for 18 years and older. And I think we're all navigating what does social media mean and what are those mediums. But I'd really love to see the school committee continue to become aware and what are their policies around whether it's smartphones, smartwatches, things in the classrooms. I love the procedure in the high school. My students were impacted. My sons were very distracted by devices in the classroom. So I'm very appreciative as this first year of that procedure is in place. Imagine that enhanced learning, enhanced engagement. Teachers were could see the difference. So again, as we look forward and this wonderful event the other night, that's really important to continue to pay attention. I just talked to one of the poster presenters. She did a poster presentation on Wait Till 8th, and I know our building leaders, particularly elementary and middle, have really wanted to try to help parents receive education. So I encourage her to reach out either through you or the building leaders to share her poster at least. Last, thank you, Cynthia. I know I've come to a lot of meetings this year. First, because of the first start time, looking at that. And I think your steadfast contributions over the last 10 years are very inspirational. You sometimes were the one person to stand alone for what I saw as the students and the teachers. I think you're a passionate leader about process and what is good for all, and advocating particularly for students and hearing people. And I feel I was heard by you, and I thank you. We might not have always agreed, but at least I felt heard, and I thank you for that. I really appreciated that you voted no for the AB schedule. I did not think that was right for our students, and certainly there was a very passionate discussion around that, but you voted no, and I appreciated that. And what I appreciated the whole school committee did was put a schedule in place that will be enacted in a year or so, not this coming, but the school year 26-27, and I know that my child will benefit, and I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you. I wish you well. This is not goodbye. So I'll see you again and again and again. And congratulations on all that you've accomplished. And I thank you. And thank you for this time. I know extended a little, but I thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes?
Hello, Jessica Oman, 116 Locust Street. I just wanted to get up here and say, as this school committee term comes to an end, I wanted to thank Dawn and Cynthia. I know this isn't an easy job, and your unwavering dedication to this community over the last several years has been an inspiration to many, myself included. Dawn, I wish you all the best on your campaign for re-election. I know there are a number of really qualified and passionate candidates, and I want to wish you the best. Cynthia, best of luck on your future future endeavors, and thank you for your commitment to this community. I want to echo what so many people here have said. Your dedication really shines through. Once again, thank you both for your service and leadership. Your hard work has made a lasting impact, and I want to wish you both continued success in whatever comes next. Thank you.
Okay, and we did have one submission. Someone sent in something to be read, public comment. I think it's the final one because I don't see anyone on Zoom. And Frank asked to read that.
Yep, happy to do so. And of course, she puts a bunch of names in here, and I'm horrible at names, so someone correct me if I get one wrong.
Just louder and speak up.
I will speak up. Thank you, Dan. Stacy Raffi, 20 Arthur Street. Good evening. I'd like to give a shout out to the Global Citizens Program Advisors, Mrs. Frost, Mrs. Mills, Mrs. Calais? Calais. Okay, thank you. And Mr. Calais, so made that easier.
Yeah, they're married. They work here.
And the chaperones who took honor students to France and Italy over April break for an incredible educational experience. I ran into Mrs. Frost shortly after their return. Her excitement was palpable, and I hope that she will share the experience with the committee at some point this year. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
The experience was vision of a graduate coming to life. Very exciting for our district, and I can't wait to see more experiences like this. I'd like to take a few moments to recognize Cynthia as she retires this week from her 10 years of service to the Holliston community as school committee member, school committee chair, and policy and superintendent subcommittee chair. I think that almost covers them all, except finance.
I never chaired budget.
Yes, budget. Sorry, I'm ruining Stacy's letter. I deeply regret that I'm not there in person tonight to share these comments. Thank you, Cynthia, for setting the example on how to be a public servant in such a public role that affects all the children and young adults in our community through your hours, upon hours of learning, listening, researching, sharing, writing, negotiating, and participating in all the meetings, office hours, public forums, and town meetings. Well, that was a sentence. You developed relationships with committee members, community members, and many different community partners over the years. During the pandemic, you spent countless hours attending the Board of Health meetings as school committee member liaison, and as we navigated such unprecedented times. You and I attended at least 7 MASC conferences where we met, collaborated, and shared with neighboring school committees. We spent many days at the State House advocating with Senate President Karen Spilka and our state representatives Carolyn Dykema and James Arena DeRosa on the Student Opportunities Act, funding for our schools as well as specific bills to help decrease our out-of-district placement cost. We had the opportunity to share with a former DESE Commissioner, Jeff Riley, on what a special place Holliston Public Schools is for our students and families. We advocated for creative ways for HPS educators and students to showcase their teaching and learning achievements in ways other than just MCAS scores, MCAS. I don't know why I pronounced it. We shared in congratulating honoring educators and students at graduations, senior award nights, National Honor Society inductions, and retirement celebrations, to name a few. We sadly had the honor to honor the loss of some very special HPS members. You spent many nights working at Senator Spilka's social and emotional events with the Ashland and Hopkinton school committees. I'm sure this list is not exhaustive of all that you've done. You are passionate, true to your values, and willing to do what it needs to ensure the best learning and teaching for educators and students. You stand up for what you believe in and don't back down when the going gets tough. If only there were more elected leaders like you. It has been an honor to serve with you for 7 years, where we experienced some great times for our district and navigated challenges that only made all of us stronger. On behalf of our community, thank you so much for your time, your dedication, your passion, and your commitment. I'm proud to call you my friend.
Thanks. Thanks for reading that. Thank you. Thank you. It is. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to do these.
Thank you, Frank. And thank you, Stacy. I don't think we got any more. Okay. So now we're going to do something very rare, which is move from public comment to policy. Usually there's a little bit of a break in between. So.
Yep, we have two policies for consideration this evening. They're both revisions. I'll start with the first one is policy JH, school absences and dropout prevention. This was brought to our attention from Joni by way of Jess, or Jess by way of Joni. Sorry, a dropout prevention. Was that initiated with you, that revision, or was it Joni? Joni. Sorry, I'm sorry. I apologize. Where they just needed to add a little bit more language around extended absences. So we just added a paragraph, and I'll just read out. That's the only change. It's just this added paragraph. And this came from also our district. Katie Minot has looked at it, et cetera. So it's been vetted. Extended absences. Consistent education is important for every child, no matter the age. HPS asks that families book vacations and extended travel during school vacations. Prior to any travel which will result in a student's absence for more than 10 consecutive school days, the caregiver must unenroll their child from school by contacting the child's building principal. If the caregiver provides the building principal proof of return travel back to Massachusetts, the caregiver may submit a homeschool application for the time period the student is traveling to ensure the child is still being educated while traveling. Other options to continue the student's education while traveling include online school or enrollment in a local school where the student is traveling. Upon your return, you must re-enroll your child in HPS prior to his or her return, I should say their return to school. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Can I just how often
Kind of like
does
why
this happen?
Apparently, it's been happening more than it should.
Okay.
Susan, do you want to enlighten us a little bit about? I think it was generated from Jamie Slaney.
We happen to have more students from many different cultures and families around the world, and as our diversity changes, you end up seeing that travel is happening more frequently during the school year because different times align in different countries, and we certainly support all of our families with getting to visit their families, but it does create challenges, and so that is why it's important that we're able to have language in there so that the unenrolling part keeps us so that if they're gone a long time and or if they don't return, otherwise it creates a challenge that we're just showing extended absences when in some cases they may not even return because they've decided to move back to their previous country or so forth. And this ensures that we have a policy in place that we can prevent excessive absences showing on DESE. And then also us needing to see how we can relocate that family. And we may not always have the ability to do so if they've made choices for their own well-being to stay with family members elsewhere. So I think that is definitely becoming more frequent, and that's why the language is necessary.
I had a question on that. So they take the extended absence and it reaches the point where they're unenrolled. Does the DESE data remove that previous information for the student, or does it stay on the report?
So that's my understanding is we unenroll, so they're no longer going to be showing. And then when they return, it starts as a new student.
Otherwise, we're getting hits on.
So that just hurts our data overall.
Back to say, for example, if they go back to they're visiting family in India for an extended period of time, they're gone for 3 months, and their parents are like, well, they're 5, so. You know what I mean? But it happens, and I think it happens more and more. It's happened more and more since COVID. I think it's just because people are just saying, you know what, learning is, it's no big deal if they're not here, but we're seeing that it's really impacting students' achievement, so.
What is the threshold of days for other districts if they have these type of things? 10 days, I would just say 10 days strikes me as actually relatively short. I know it has huge impact on learning, but to unenroll somebody and then force them to re-enroll after 10 days seems.
I mean, that's 2 weeks, so it's pretty.
No, it's not.
It's 2 weeks outside of the vacation period. So it's not during vacations, it's just on.
No, I understand.
And without them providing any, maybe they're saying their kid has surgery or something, and that's why. I mean, they're just saying we're traveling, right? I mean, it's really about that. I'm not sure what it has in the other districts, but.
Yeah, I don't have many examples that I can think of as
Do you, Jess? I'm like, hold on. I think
somebody who's on a regular vacation. Most of this is to see family. It abuts usually some type of other vacation, and they're gone for maybe a month. at that point in time. We do have examples where we've had those are highly invested in skiing, and our high-level skiers that we have here will go up and participate in some of the academies up in Vermont as well. May choose or not choose to enroll in school there, but that just kind of structures it that we have. And Jess?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think typically, so we put together the attendance task force, and so I'm part of that. I think surrounding districts, 10 days is typical. What we want to continue is having the conversation. So just because we get to 10 days doesn't mean we unenroll, but it gives us that ability. So if a family says, well, yes, we're going to be out of the country for another 20, then we would have them unenroll. So it's just...
This says that they must unenroll their child. This is not, there's no squishiness to this. And so to me, it's sort of, there's a differentiation between someone doing a ski academy for 30 days, which is a complete sort of choice and a prioritization by the family and the student, and someone who says, an international family and so, has an opportunity to go back and visit their sort of where, either where the parents are from, where they're from, or whatever, and, to travel there, it just makes sense to go for a month. And while granted that, or however long, and granted, that is disruptive to their education, and we want to discourage that. I think that, I don't know, I think that's tough. Because that's, in my mind, different than someone who enrolls their child in school.
But I think it's how it is conveyed to the family, right? So it's not as if they can unenroll and then that's it, right? But it also is, we're required as a district to really account for where our students are. And if they're out of the country for 30 days, that's a long time to not be in
I would also say that
school.
There is attendance law that we're beholden to, and that when we exceed these, this is a threshold we will cross and have to take currently by law have to take certain action against a family, and that's not something we're looking to pursue either. And so this is kind of leaving that.
It's truancy if they're not there.
And I think partly it's about.
I understand. I just think that could we look at or potentially add something where it gives the principal the opportunity to issue a waiver.
I think this forward, but I think you could. I didn't see the exact language, but or sorry, I can't really see it.
I think
to the principal's discretion or something. But I think the support of having a definitive number in there is really helpful to account for where our kids are.
I think that too. The reason why the next part exists, as far as remote options or otherwise, is that if they know they're going to be gone more than 10 days, we would like them to give us what the plan is because they can say we're going to tutor and whatever it is, and it forces them to come up with a plan. I hear what you're saying too, Dan, but I think the other worry would be from a special ed lens, we are then on the hook to be compensatory services for that time period, and then they come back and they could take 2 months off or whatever, and we now have to somehow make up all those services too, right?
Right.
And then how do we show that they're actually advancing the way they're supposed to? Because
Which is why
how are they going to be able to?
Which is why I'm suggesting that rather than sort of concrete, sort of definitive language that they must unenroll, that there is a sort of an opportunity to have a conversation with the principal and potentially seek a waiver.
Do you want to put may be required to enroll?
I could, sure.
Yeah.
At the may be required to enroll at the principal's discretion, or just something. Again,
saying must unenroll is what we're saying here, I think. With though a context of could be also decided at discretion, because if you put maybe, the family may come back and say, well, you say maybe, like how do I?
Let me add the other at the discretion.
So if you keep must as like it's an automatic thing, unless
the
building leader steps in, right, or whoever.
Because if they can convey
based
a
on the
plan,
information they have.
or that's going to be 15 days or whatever, then you might be able to.
Exactly. I want there to be a little flexibility, but if someone's going to take off for a month skiing, I mean, yeah, I get it. Like that's, especially if they're going to enroll somewhere else or do something. I mean, then
Doing like home tutoring or school.
That makes complete sense. Yeah. It just feels maybe somewhat overly punitive for some of our international kids. That one's.
Thanks.
I'm thinking.
Where you at?
I'm trying to just figure out like a sentence that I can add to
Show me
that.
where you're at.
At the end of child's principal.
Okay.
Caregiver parents.
That's almost like why they would need a homeschool plan if they.
But that's a very formal thing, isn't it?
Not really. I mean, a
Unless
homeschool
prior
plan, as long as they can
approval
say
is-
that we're educating in some way, we really don't get too
Unless by
technical.
contacting the
I mean,
child,
they're supposed to
unless
say
prior
they're teaching them the
approval
state standards, but
of a plan
you have taken, you've seen the plans,
by the
right? So-
principal.
Yeah. There are some, I mean, if
Yeah.
you really want to get to a homeschool plan, there are many templates that exist online.
You could say we're doing online.
You could go
whatever,
through
yeah.
a plan and submit that pretty quick.
Could do Khan Academy, all different components, and, right.
No, and look, I want to encourage people to keep their students here and enrolled. It's very important for the continuity of education, and something that we've worked hard on. But at the same time, I do know of people who do travel back to sort of their ancestral. I don't know what I'm trying not to use any words, but it just back to the country where their family is from, and it's a very long trip, and they don't get to do it very often, and so it may be an extended period of time. I just don't want to be overly punitive there if we can come up with some sort of agreement. So leaving the language a little bit more flexible, or having someone with the ability to make some flexibility, I think is helpful.
How about this? I just added, the caregiver must receive prior approval or unenroll their child from school by contacting the school.
Prior approval from the principal?
Yeah, do prior approval by the principal.
Principal, but I'm saying principal at the end.
I would still put it
Both?
in there
Okay.
too, so it's clear who they need the approval for. Or unenroll the child from the school by contact with the child's principal.
Can you put-
Slash the last
Yeah, I'm going to get
part.
rid of it now.
And can you put or their designee in parentheses just so it's not
Yep.
like or?
Yep, I know.
Cynthia, my only, well,
Go ahead.
here's my own technical
Yep.
complication with that. A principal cannot, by law, by destiny, that guys cannot approve unexcused absences.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
That's what's tricky about them.
Yeah, so like we can't create a policy that in effect
Goes against state law.
Correct.
Got
Okay.
it? Okay.
Appreciate that context.
Yeah.
And they can't waive, like that's it's tricky.
So we have to leave most in on
We just kind of have to leave it the way it is.
Well, can't they waive the?
they can waive the what they're doing is to waive.
Can we empower them to waive our policy?
Yeah, that's kind of where you could do it. Is that you're not approving their unexcused absences as much as that you're more or less discretion to waive the policy.
Or apply for a waiver from the
Right,
principal.
so new sentence period. Building principals will have the discretion to waive.
And I guess we should
This
probably bring this by
policy
council
for-
again.
So, yeah, so never mind.
What?
We're just going to abandon this because we're going to have our.
Well, no, but we should put in language that we.
You can, yeah, we can put it in. I'm just saying, like, let's move on because if we're going to change it, then, and we need to have it vetted by our council, then there's no approving it tonight anyway, so.
Feels like the next person.
I'll add it in and I'll send it off before we leave. Go
You'll
ahead,
have
I'm
the
sorry,
task
Jess.
force.
You might want to invite like the task force to the policy meeting.
Or you could.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It might make sense to come up with common language.
Sure.
Sure. I mean, I'm open. It just feels like there's should be a little flexibility.
Or the task force could look at it and make suggestions and then return it to the policy meeting.
Okay. Don, you want to make a suggested
Yeah,
change and then okay.
I'll make a suggestion. I'm going to put it in caps so we know where the suggestion is.
Okay. Well, it should also
Be
track
on the
changes
side.
on.
I think so.
Okay.
You have to change it to suggestion on yours.
It's just the whole thing is being suggested, so now it's just suggested by somebody else.
It has to go on everybody has to put suggested on the tip.
Where do I do that?
I don't know. I hate
Can you
Google
put
Docs.
Can you add just like a comment or something?
I will in a second. I just want
Okay.
to make sure it's coming up as suggested. Do you know how to adjust it?
Top right where the arrow.
Under share?
No.
Here, under
Get rid of the camera, yeah.
Get rid of that. And here, editing mode. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
We can move on to the others. And then.
Okay. I just didn't want you to, yeah, okay.
From dropouts to medication.
To medication, okay, so, hopefully, okay, so in your packet, there should have been also the the original, I can't for some reason open up this shared.
I have it up here, but I don't see the edits, unfortunately.
Yeah, so there's no edits because this one was a wholesale. We took our policy and instead, substituted in MASC's policy that we slightly tweaked, but we mostly kept all of.
Oh, right.
Because it was getting too messy. The original, well, it wasn't really original. We've updated this policy like twice, two or three times in the last couple of years for some reason. And it was just getting too murky. So we just went back and just said, listen, let's stop making everything very micromanaged and go back to a policy that is just much more general and has an overview of what we should be doing. So I wanted to, Lisa DeLuzio said that she was going to put in what's currently in place.
She did. There's two.
She did. So you can see it. I just can't,
Yeah,
for some
no, there's
reason, I
a
can't
P-
open the
there's a-
shared drive for some reason.
Okay. Yeah, in the drive, there's a PDF says current version and one that says, I think, updated, which is the Google Doc.
So.
I mean, it doesn't look all that different.
I just don't know why it won't open. But anyway, that's okay. I don't need to see both.
It does look pretty.
There's the current one has reference to HPS where they removed that from obviously the MECS.
Okay, I'm fine.
We have to read the whole thing because it's whole.
I should read the whole thing. I don't have to read the whole thing.
Can we waive it?
Yeah, we can waive it. It's a revision. It's not like a brand new policy.
Okay.
So if you accept, what's in there, then we can just vote to accept the revision. It's been vetted. It was reviewed by Dr. Zisblatt, who said this is fine. So
I'm good with that. Any objections?
And the only revisions are in purple.
No, the entire document.
The entire document.
Yep.
But a lot
That's
of
why
it is
you have the other one.
similar.
It's all similar, but there was just too much. We would have been cutting and pasting it all the way through, and it would have been just messy. So we decided just to kind of cut the whole thing through and just used MASC's policy and tweaked it slightly. But it was supposed to say the school district everywhere. It was supposed to be HPS. I don't know why that didn't take.
Well, that's one of the biggest changes, I feel like.
So I will fix that.
The only question is it refers to CMR 210-100 in the current version versus 210-600. Is that the same? No, actually it's a different. Okay, I see
Where is 600?
In regarding class trips, the self-administered during off campus for 105 CMR 210.
210.6.
Yeah, but it's a different.
It can be just 210. That's just one section of that, but it's all what it's.
Yeah, that's where it differs from our current one.
Yep.
Are we good? Yeah. Okay. So I will entertain a motion to approve policy JLCD as amended.
Moved by Sarah. Second by Dawn.
Joe?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
And Hillary?
Yes.
And I am a yes. That carries 7 to, I think.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
Last policies. All right. Moving over to central office updates.
I too wanted to thank Cynthia for her leadership and her steadfast support. This is my 5th year in Holliston, starting during COVID, which were quite challenging years. But you are one of 4. I've had 4 chairs in the time I've been here. And I don't know, well over 14 plus, I think it was 14, might be more different members of the committee. And I just have to thank you very much for your support your respect ongoingly, your feedback, difficult conversations have always been there, and I've always felt respected by you, and that's been really valued by me. The last 2 years of my 5 have probably been the most challenging of my entire career. I've been an educator for 30 years, and I'm thankful that I've had you there to listen and provide feedback along the way. So I will definitely miss you in your role. I'm sorry that you're going, but I just want to thank you for being there as a steadfast committee member for the 5 years that I've been here.
Thank you.
Dr. Jordan?
So we continue with this, Cynthia. 10 years. So you have been present with me for every major transition I've had in Massachusetts.
Wow.
And 10 years as a school committee member, but my entire duration as a parent in this community. The periods of time that Jess and I were here with all of your children, and each one of the transitions from assistant principal to assistant superintendent throughout it. And you've always been incredibly supportive of me. And when we have not initially agreed on anything, you've had the utmost professionalism in finding time to meet with me and work through the details and the data, and many times change my mind on certain things. So it's been fantastic, and those have been some of the most important years of my life. I brought 2 kids into this world during that period of time, so you've been there since the beginning for my 2nd grader and my 1st grader. So I will remember you forever. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also, other stuff that I have for my report outs. Art Saves Lives is amazing. There's some pictures, some paintings and different things out there that are fantastic artwork. The other thing I wanted to give a shout out, which was last week, was the rain, or was it earlier this week, rain day for Special Olympics. Holy cow. So luckily we got the rain day because the Friday would have been miserable, but Monday was absolutely gorgeous. Thank you to Jess and her team for having it out. Our students were fantastic throughout it. Thank you to our resident Olympian, Nicole Downen, who was there along with 3 other local Olympians to kind of kick off the festivities as well, and to our police and fire who were there as well. It was a perfect day for the event. Medfield did a fantastic job with that. Joe, I just want to say thank you very much for reading that. That was administrators, buildings, and teachers love to hear that. It's not something that's mentioned very, very often, so thank you very much for bringing that to the table. I was at the MASBO conference. That's the conference for administrators, for business administrators, and Commissioner Tutwiler spoke. I am encouraged by what he had to say about Circuit Breaker, specifically about transportation and reimbursement for tuition and transportation. That has moved. They've given some early indications in the last couple months that it was going to be reimbursed at higher rates. We were getting closer and closer to that point, and it's been more and more encouraging than prior years. So that is very positive for our FY26. Updates, capital was approved with the town meeting, so that means that we're plowing through as far as Ram's roof. If you go by the middle school right now, they've begun staging already. I got a nervous call from Karen later today where she was afraid that the dumpster was running into the wall of the building. So crisis averted, but they are starting to really kind of stage the equipment there. The staging is the first part with the kind of a delayed start right around June 1st to kind of really start the roofing of that. We're on track for the track right at the very end of school to kind of begin the track project as well. And then we're excited to kind of the capital that was approved, and we're thankful to the community of the town for that. Those are important projects, especially the auditorium lights of being kind of a recurring project that's been on the capital plan for a long time. So thank you to those and to the town for kind of putting that through. Thank you.
And the track is a resurfacing, not a full
It's a resurfacing, correct.
But it is still a significant amount that we have been able to do with internally through, fees and things like that, and not have to rely on the town for. So I think that those are always good to highlight, that we do try to sort of fund things ourselves when possible.
And Dr. Jordan, about how long does the resurfacing take? How long does that keep folks off of the track? I know sometimes we do summer rentals with the littler kids get to do the track nights, but I think that really doesn't start until July. But there are some rentals on the turf. How long does it impact that?
Correct. So I need to look at the exact amount. I just remember when they told me the time, it didn't send the hairs on the back of my neck up. It's like it was going to cancel anything. It is meant to be a pretty timely thing, so it's not interfering with the entirety of the summer or a significant portion of it. So it's meant to be, the surface is meant to be pretty quick for it. So.
Okay.
But if you need to, I can get you an update on the exact amount.
Great. Thank you. So now moving on to personnel. As most of you know, there was an announcement this week or last week that Ms. Beatty is moving on to her next great adventure after 22 years in the district. And we'll miss her greatly, but we do now need to move on with trying to find a new student services director. And so I just wanted to sort of, I know we've posted for both an interim and a full-time position, so Dr. Husk, if you have an update for us, and then we can kind of get into that.
As I shared with you the other day, we have 4 applicants for the interim and 4 for the permanent position. Right now, one of the 4 is the same on both the processes. So given the resumes that we've received so far, I don't feel like we have an adequate pool to do a full interview process. We still do have the both of them are open right now. I believe the interim is for 1 more week, and I want to say that the other one was posted through June 1st. We can always extend the timeline as we get close to that, but you do try to put a finite timeline in there, because otherwise people may not even apply if they don't see a timeline when it's ending. So I think I would want to keep you updated over the next week or so and see if we get more applicants. What I have found, though, just the lateness in the year, it's less likely to get applicants as the year gets later with these type of administrative positions. But also, typically, the first week or so is when you get the highest volume of people applying. That doesn't mean we can't get more. We could. There's always some people that wait till the very last minute when they see a deadline too, so that can happen. So I will continue to update you over the next week or so and hope that we have a large enough pool to start the process, and then determine from there if that's acceptable. If you have any other ideas.
Do you have any comments or thoughts? Hillary, did you?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to figure out how to do the raise hand. I'm sorry if you said this, Dr. Tuska, and I couldn't hear. Where has the position been posted? Kind of in a range of places, or what are the recruitment and outreach efforts?
Yeah, so what we have found is that School Spring happens to be almost the catch-all, I hate to say, but and then places like Indeed take it from there. So it feeds to a number of other places just based on the School Spring being the feeder, and then other places almost take it from there. So it has been showing on Indeed in other places. And then the other thing we've done in the past, which we have not been very successful with, sometimes we have paid a large sum of money to post on the Boston Globe, for example, years ago. That was a viable place to post an ad. I have found in recent years we have had minimal to no success when we've spent hundreds and hundreds, or sometimes even thousands of dollars posting there, just because it doesn't get the traction. And that's, people typically are now using the online applicant tracking systems, and they get the best widespread volume. If you had any other ideas, I'd be certainly open to considering. I could do something like sometimes we've posted to colleges. Unfortunately, though, if you're posting on the college level, you're going to get someone fresh out of school, and that's not really what we want to see happening right now. So that's why, for teacher positions, that is a viable option, but for administrative positions, you're really looking towards the online platform for that.
Are there any professional networks for this type of position that we could reach out to?
I don't know that, I have to double check. I don't know that Lisa has put it on Mass Superintendents. I can get it on there. I'll ask her to do that tomorrow. MASPA is another professional site, but typically anyone that's looking at those sites is looking at School Spring. I just feel like School Spring, which is now under Power School, took over School Spring. That is, that's the be-all and end-all for people. Unless you're looking out of state, there might be other systems, but it's less likely to find applicants from out of state for these types of positions as well. If you have any other things that you can think of, please let me know, and I'd be happy to try. But this is the route we've been going for many years.
And then once you have the pool of applicants, what's the process that you'll be going through to interview? Will there be a hiring committee?
Yeah, I think we have to determine, do we have enough applicants in either pool to start moving forward? I am worried about the timeline. For example, if someone is an administrator in another district, typically they have 60 to 90 days in their contract. So the possibility of finding a permanent person this late in the game is becoming slimmer and slimmer, certainly for July 1. So then the challenge with having, if we go forward with an interim to fill a gap, the challenge with that is we really would need to have also a finite timeline to tell that person so that they could determine whether they want to take it, or if it's someone internal, to be able to then backfill that. So it's hard. In some cases I've said to reopen later in the year for the permanent if we can't get an applicant pool. Those are the things that we're weighing right now. It is looking more and more likely that our best hope would be to have a strong interim candidate and then repost in the fall. I'm certainly, like I said, I'm very open to doing a permanent search. It's just so far the applicant pool that I'm seeing doesn't really warrant people that I would want to put forward in that way. I think we'd be spending a lot of time with a small group of people and putting together a group of people to interview as well, and maybe not get the benefits that we would like.
I'll just pass on. I met with CPAC yesterday, and in addition to expressing their deep appreciation and gratitude to Jess Beatty, they had expressed interest in being part of the hiring committee if that were formed and if that was available. Oh yes, typically anytime we've done these searches, we've always reached out for parent input, and CPAC in particular. Since I've been here, we've had 2 student services directors, and I did not hire the previous student service director, but we did a full committee with parents, administration, teachers, and SSAs, and usually we've had 10 to 12 people on those procedures. So again, depending on which direction we can go over the next few weeks, but it is getting very late.
So 4 applicants is inadequate. How many would be ideal to begin the process?
So it's not the number, but the caliber of the
quality of the
candidate. Okay. So I certainly don't think if we had 1 or 2 maybes, it's worth putting together the whole, process. But if we had, 3 or 4 people that looked reasonable, I know that we had a lot more applicants. For example, the assistant principal search, and they're still doing that search. So to have 4 candidates is a very low volume at this point. So,
have we tried to reach out through your networks and to retired SSDs to see if there is anyone? This is just an incredibly important position for every district, but especially now. And I just think that I really want to find someone who, even if on an interim basis, is able to kind of come in and knows the job and is able to kind of move forward with that with very little sort of need for ramping up or learning, because it is such a I know very little about the very technical aspects of it, but so I've been told it's a very technical, legal, sort of complicated job that takes a long time to really hit the stride in, and so I'm just.
Do you have a clone in your pocket?
Yeah. Where's Dolly?
So I have talked to one particular individual to see if they're interested, someone that I know has been an interim in different places. That person said maybe, and I could circle back to them. So there's two kind of ways you can go for interim. One is to take in a retiree or someone like that can kind of just keep things moving in a, like not making any changes, just kind of status quo, which means you get by, right? But then there's also the opportunity, if you have a strong internal candidate that knows the system and has started moving the work. And we had just presented just a few weeks ago about the movement and the momentum that we've had with these new programs. So the advantage of having someone that already knows the movement and momentum would keep that moving forward. I'm not saying an interim that is external as a retiree couldn't help with that, but there's a learning curve even for them, and typically they're just trying to stay in the boat from rocking.
It's definitely a tough climate out there. There are a lot of this position posted.
A lot of open, yeah.
I would say that we are getting tight on time on things, so the swifter that we can be on this, the better. It's not just about kind of the person that we're in as far as the situation. It's also just about the stability of the others in the district and the other SSAs, the other special educators that we have at this time. I wish Jess the best in all of this, but I also think it's incredibly important for us to fill this position. Yeah, look, she's smirking at me like. But
I was laughing at him, just to be clear.
I was laughing at you laughing when you said that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can provide you email you sort of where we are maybe next week.
I just think it's very important, that we have a very, however it's happened, a robust interview process that includes CPAC, includes other members of the community, just like we've done for everything. And I hear you on the timeline and the tightness that it's getting, but I think that I do not want to rush the process because we feel like things are tightening in. I think we need to make the right decision, not the right now decision.
And it's important for the community feedback.
And it's certainly very important for the community feedback because you just heard some great things from a family at Miller, and that is wonderful. But there have been other families who have had challenging issues, and I think that there are people that are going to want feedback on that. And certainly, if we're going to put an internal candidate in there, which I'm not opposed to, but I think certainly if we're going to put an internal candidate in there, that will sort of definitely impact the longer sort of permanent search if you do run one. Because as you've said, Dr. Kuska, once you sort of have an interim in there, it becomes sometimes harder to when you run a permanent search to get a good candidate pool. So I think that we need to cast a wide net, and I'm okay taking a little longer to try to gather a better applicant pool. That's not a better, but a more robust applicant pool.
The one thing I will say, if we don't have someone in for July 1st, I mean, there are just timelines and things that it's not like we can pause. You have to have a signatory, so at that point, I might ask you to at least temporarily appoint someone acting if we haven't started the interview.
Yeah.
And I don't.
No, we would not obviously leave it vacant. So we'd have to figure that out. But does that make sense to everyone? Is everyone sort of on board with that? Frank, I see you typing. You good? Okay. Hillary, does that make sense? Okay. So that's a thumbs up from Hillary, just for. Great. So moving on, 8 minutes ahead of schedule. Reports from our subcommittees. Communications.
No, this week.
It's that time of year.
Yeah, really busy.
Policy.
We already did policy. That's it.
Do you want to do eval?
Sure. The evaluation subcommittee met again today with Dr. Kuska. We gave her a copy of her official final approved evaluation from the subcommittee, and she has time now to review it over, and with a plan to review it again with her on Monday, and then for a potential vote at that time.
Okay.
And that's where we're at.
Posted for that.
And I did send it to the rest of the committee. I shared it with all of you as well, but just before the meeting, so it was like an hour or so before the meeting.
I did not have a chance to review it. So
Yeah, I figured that
if you could do that
I'm just
48
letting you
hours in
know.
advance, that would.
Yeah. If I could have, I absolutely would have.
I'm just
So that's why I felt like that we should push that off, just because you guys haven't had an opportunity to see
That's fine.
the
That's
final
what we did that.
draft, as well as to give Dr. Kuska an opportunity to kind of digest that, and if she has comments that she wants to make, that she can do that. And then we'll meet on Monday, potentially, and then have a vote potentially on Monday if people are ready. That's all. So it's posted, but
I do think it's probably important that we vote on Monday.
It's a maybe.
You know, it's a
Right,
last day
if we're ready
of this,
to, then, but again, like, I'm not.
Sure. Well, obviously, if
Because after Monday,
if the majority of the committee,
that's all, folks, so you're on your own.
Obviously, if the majority of the committee is not ready to vote, then.
Correct, that's the thing, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Budget.
No news other than we made
Good
it
news.
through town
Yeah.
meeting. Good news.
Should have mentioned that. Yes, we
Yes.
got a
Thank you
budget.
to all of our
We have a
community
budget.
partners, yeah.
So
for
thank you
supporting
for
that.
everyone who came to town
Mm-hmm.
meeting and voted in support of it. And, you know, town meeting's always an adventure. You never know what
We
kind of
dodged a
motions you're gonna
$2.5 million motion to reduce our budget.
motion that was not seconded.
It was not seconded.
That was double our override. I thought that was a little bit insulting.
It was punitive.
Well, I didn't want to
Certainly
give
had a
any
punitive
additional
aspect.
information, you know, just.
But yes, the budget is passed, and we've had no further meetings since last Wednesday's town meeting.
And we do really appreciate the town's support for that. And
Yes.
as Dr. Jordan said, our capital requests, it was a very interesting town meeting, a lot of spending. Okay, moving on to our math leveling subcommittee. I think, Hillary, you put some, well, you shared with me, and then I put it into the folder a couple days ago, a recommendation from Hillary, Sarah, Karen Manning, and Ron Taylor. Is that the? Yep. For membership. And now I'm going to have to. So if everyone wants to bring that up. Have these people been noticed that they were recommended yet, or?
No, not yet. So Sarah and I just met on Monday to review the, excuse me, the interest. We had a lot of teachers and especially a lot of parents who expressed interest. So a strong group of people to choose between was very difficult. We appreciate everybody's interest.
Okay, so it's not to put people on the spot, if this works. What I'd like to then do is, so we form the shell, and then eventually once they've accepted, I'll notify Liz Greendale so that they can get sort of sworn in as members of the committee. But so it's not to put these people on the spot. I guess I'll just sort of would entertain a motion to sort of approve this list, though I would like to make one addendum as a sort of an alternate, I guess, with, I'm just going to say her name because she's a former school committee member, but Amanda Bigelow, I think would be an invaluable asset to the group. I realize that we have limited membership numbers, and so that may have been part of the problem, but if I know she applied, but if she's interested, I would like to sort of, I don't know what, it's sort of a member at large like Jeriel. I don't know if Jeriel is intended to be kind of an official member, but it would be either sort of like that, or it could be just an alternate.
I would just be mindful of the numbers, because then you have to have a quorum in order to meet, and then if you don't meet, then, so.
This would, right, but this would not be, I'm not adding to the committee. So is
Just an alternate.
so I guess my question is Jeriel intended to be?
I don't know if Jeriel's going to be coming to every meeting.
Okay, so he's not actually.
He's just being invited to.
So he's not a member at large then. He's basically
He's a contributor.
He's a.
I don't know. Is he
Invited
voting?
guest.
Hillary,
Jeriel said he's not available for all the meetings, so we may pull him in when we feel like we need his voice.
Correct. Yeah.
So he's like a liaison to your committee.
So he wouldn't be a voting member.
Okay.
So
He's not a voting member.
So he's not a voting member. So
/liaison.
So right now there are 12 then voting members, and I think we authorized up to 13. And so Jeriel's not going to be a voting member. Then I would like to suggest that we add Amanda in as a full member.
And she did apply, you said.
She did apply.
We already got Kathy. She's a school committee member too. Former.
I do like the idea of someone who teaches math in another district too. We have that perspective, and I know that Kathy is a math tutor, and then Sarah.
Yeah, and sorry, Chris Danik is also
a math teacher in another district.
Yeah.
Is it Framingham or is it a?
No. I want to say Walpole. Does that sound right, Hillary? I can pull it up.
I thought that name something.
Does that?
I think the perspective.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Sarah.
Was Chris Stanek from Walpole? Do you remember? I was gonna.
No. Was it Lexington or Sudbury?
Maybe Sudbury,
But a different district.
A different district.
Or Holliston.
And I think it was a district that had gone through a recent review of their
Yep.
math, how they're offering.
No, I think these are great.
they have
These are great choices. I
Yeah.
just wanted to, I think given that when I thought Jerry was in there, I thought that we had an odd number, and so.
I wouldn't want to reduce from 12 to 11, but I do think an odd number.
Yep.
Knowing how this has evolved over the years, I think an odd number would be helpful.
And actually, adding this would not change the quorum requirement, because for a 12-member board, you still need 7. For a 13-member board, you will still need 7. In fact, it will increase the likelihood of getting a quorum, because you'll have one more person who can fulfill that same number.
I'll second the addition.
Hillary, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you say it again, because I'm not sure, actually, I don't know if I heard the whole.
She said yes.
We're adding Amanda to this list, and with Jeriel as I don't want to call him a member at large. That would indicate he's actually a member. It's more just a contributing liaison. Yeah, yep. That's a good one.
Liaison? Is
Yeah.
everyone okay
Just
with
call him a
that?
liaison instead. That isn't signed in. I mean,
So it'll be a 13-member group?
Correct.
with a 7-member quorum.
Yeah, and I believe that was what we originally approved was 13. It was 13.
It was like an up to.
But I do think odd's important.
Okay.
Feel good with that?
Yep.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve and communicate out to these members and let the others know that we appreciate their volunteering as amended.
And just
Yeah,
to
it
be
was
clear,
really
this.
excellent. No, I'm just, we had lots of people
interested,
express their interest, which I was grateful
And if these
for.
parents don't want, we can come back and we can amend the committee as well.
Sure.
Okay. So, and just to be clear, this is a subcommittee of the school committee, or it is a advisory committee to the school?
It is a
Subcommittee, right?
It is for
So
member.
then you and Hillary will be running this, correct?
The committee will determine that. I mean, we have only one process for really setting up. If we form a true subcommittee of the school committee, it can only be school committee members.
No.
But like our budget subcommittee can only have school committee members as members.
Right.
But we have that, I
So
forget, I
then
don't know what
it's
the.
advisory, that's why I was clarifying,
Oh,
it's advisory committee to the school committee.
Okay.
Because you guys are members, but you don't necessarily lead it. You're
They have to
members
be
of the committee.
voted.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yes, but it's an advisory committee.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
just clarifying, because it is different than
Yeah.
a true subcommittee.
Correct, we're not forming another, was it just
That's
school
what
committee members?
I'm
Yes.
just
Yep.
clarifying. Yeah.
So then this would be a math advisory committee to the,
Yes.
to the school committee
Yes,
membership.
correct.
Thank you, Cynthia. We're gonna miss that.
These are the
Another piece
things
of
we're going
process.
to be missing.
We'll figure it out.
So I guess the amendment, so everyone's good with the amendment, I don't think we need to vote on that. So as amended, do we have did someone make that motion?
I thought Dawn made the motion.
You made the motion.
No, this was to amend it, and that was more just like,
Oh,
Okay.
so
Okay.
to approve the list.
yeah, to approve the list, as sort of amended, which we
As
all have
amended,
agreed to. We're not like
taking
voting on the
liaison
amendment.
I thought you just
and
proposed that, though.
Let's do it.
Let's just do it.
Moved by Dawn.
Yep, there we go.
What are we voting on?
You just say it again.
Oh, the math membership, the math advisory committee membership list as amended.
Correct.
So moved by Dawn.
Seconded by
Joe.
Joe. Yeah.
So Joe.
Yes.
Okay. Frank.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Cynthia.
Yes.
Dawn.
Yes.
Hillary.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So once you guys communicate and everyone sort of officially kind of accepts, let me know so that I can then let the town clerk know so that she can kind of form that officially and get information out for people to be sworn in.
Advice on those subcommittees: get sworn in and then schedule a meeting. Don't schedule the meeting and then tell people to swear in.
Yes,
That was
process.
Tight
stressful.
deadlines to keep it going,
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
And yeah, I do hope. I know we're getting tight on to the end of the year, but I do hope that we can at least kick things off to get that work started, because I think, what was it, ideally, Hillary, your timeline was a recommendation in January, right?
Yes.
Which is not that far away when you've got the summer break and everything like that. So anyway, thank you everyone who volunteered, and we appreciate that. Okay. So just an update on the implementation of the extra 10 to 15 minutes. Dr. Custer was good enough to ask for get memos from everyone.
Yes.
All the principals, I'm sorry.
Yes, I put them in the folder, I think on Tuesday. I did change one today just because the Rams one, she just made it a little bit more, I guess she wanted to make it more of a memo, but the substance of it hasn't changed, but she asked me to up that. I printed it early.
So the question I have about that one is, I'm just trying to figure it out. So it says additional time added per core class. Up top, English, Math, Social, Science, 3.5 minutes. But then it says core academic classes went from 51 to 56, which is 5 minutes added to each core class. And then 3.5 minutes allows for passing time between core class. So I'm just trying to...
Yeah, they looked into, I mean, if you need really specific detail, I'd rather have her answer, but just the general part that, my conversation with her was that they looked at the entire day and whether they could reduce some of the passing time and kind of really maximize every minute. So the 14 of the minutes did go directly to the 4 content areas, and then they adjusted the Rams block, which is something they were going to do either way before we even knew about the change in start times. I mean, change in 15 minutes.
Right. So
my understanding is 3.5 is the transition between classes, and the 5 minutes is on to the instructional time from 51 to 56. Is that what it says?
Yes.
And then which we've always had across like 8 periods within a day. The kind of that's lunch we're calling kind of and Rams block. Rams block, lunch, and homeroom as kind of like transition points that we have. We've always kind of like, it's not been a perfect number of minutes. It's always been in order to equate to the equal number of like 51 minutes and 41 minutes that we needed for the arts. That there's always been about 1 minute or so of flexibility per period that exists. So if she on Rams block pulled for like a minute from different spaces within other transitions that we've had throughout the building, I can see where she can find like 5 or 6 minutes for Rams block. I think she indicates like 1 minute from the 15 being pulled into Rams block. I imagine she's probably leaning heavily as far as what she's trying to double down as far as some of the intervention work that we're trying to do, as well as some of the special education planning.
Right. No, I get that. So I'm just, but it seems like if you look at the top, the 3.5 minutes is what they're calculating the total additional instructional time to be.
I'm confused too, because it appears from this that there's 14 extra minutes on core, but then there's 7 extra minutes on Rams block, which is 21 extra minutes.
She cut down and reduced some of the transitions.
So how much time are we giving? So what is the current time for transitioning kids between classes, and then what are we changing it to?
So one of the 15 minutes, 1 minute is given to Rams block, but 6 minutes were pulled from other transitions that we have. So we do have, that she pulled from, we do have transition points, especially between lunches, that we've had post-COVID or as a result of COVID, had probably more time than we really needed in there. So I can imagine she probably tightened up lunches. We usually have had longer transitions between when you're transitioning from like your core classes to your arts, the transition points that are built in there, and then we've also built in a longer transition from homeroom to the first period class as well. So if she in talking to her, saying that like pulling from the different transitions, that's likely where she's pulling from. The other part is that like we don't have to build our perfect schedule. We don't have perfect transitions as far as the actual minutes that are built in. Some are 2 minutes, some are 5 minutes, some are 3 minutes, just so that we hit the so we create perfect blocks as far as like how they transition. We don't publicize that a lot, so but it's not perfect.
And part of it, their core classes are on the team. They're right next to each other. So in some cases, we were giving too much transition time. Right. So that's what they've been trying to adjust for the last couple of years.
So I hear you, and I can understand where she's getting the 7 minutes for Rams block. The thing is still is, so it's saying core academic classes went from 51 minutes to 56 minutes, but up top it says additional time is 3.5 minutes.
3.5 minutes is the passing time.
Yeah,
She's specified.
No, she added 3.5 minutes, but I think it was like a minute and a half in transit. I don't want to speak for.
I know, but it says in the third sentence, it says this is 5 minutes added to each core class daily. The 3.5 minutes allows for passing time between core classes above.
Yeah, that's my understanding. It's the 3.5 minutes is the passing time. So I can.
Can we get the current schedule?
Just like this is what I'm doing with 15 minutes. I don't need all the other stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or just see the schedules.
It's hard to see
and
the
I
context.
respect that it needs some flexibility, and you're implementing this and seeing how it goes. I just want to also see, like, I think it would be fair to maybe get an update next year as well in terms of how it's going to assure people that it is an increase in instructional time.
Yeah, and I think the tricky part with schedules too is, I mean, as you know, like elementary, we can just add it on to the blocks because the teachers, they have the most of the day.
Exactly.
And at the high school, it was easy to add on to each block. At the middle school, what gets trickier is the blocks of time, like UA is when we get coverage for teachers for, so that's the 82 minutes. So if you adjust here, it then, we also have to meet the contractual obligations for that. So that's the tricky part that she's trying to manage.
Totally understood. I'm just, if we see it mocked up, that will help. That will make it clear. But from what I'm seeing, it seems like a good plan. So,
core academic. So class outside of that do not extend 5 minutes.
So the unified arts, we did not increase, and it would be nice if we could increase time on learning on all subjects, but that is also the prep time for our general classes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're each 41 minutes, and there are 2 of them, so it's 82 minutes, which is the prep time.
Yep.
And do we think that increase for the enrichment block will help with things like the transition with the algebra students? Is that sort of a focus for that, do you think?
I mean, she talked about the bottom about the math lab, so it really depends on, I mean, initially it was going to be an intervention block, which it already is, but to use that for the tier 2 and tier 3, I do think they still are trying to work out when they would offer the support for the Algebra 1 and the Math 8 standards that students would need to recoup next year. So that might be a little bit more involved, but I think that's part of the intent.
I mean, that is as far as like the placement of the Rams block is meant for that, and including the math tutor. As you saw in the presentation that was done during the last school committee where our curriculum specialists presented on intervention, I mean, I think a space that I know Casey and Carla are still looking to figure out, and hopefully with a tutor can support that, is to be able to intervene and excel more students than we currently are. So I think that there's opportunity. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I want to say that was nearly 100 students that were intervening at the elementary school, and in a much smaller number, much smaller group at the middle school.
Yeah, with the different additional staff. I will say I do my round tables. It happens during Rams block, so I usually am sitting there waiting for the kids to come to me, and that time period goes very quickly. So I hear the concerns with trying to, because they really do use that as a robust time frame.
I would just like to give a shout out to Mr. Keim for putting the 15 minutes into science and social studies, because I think that's very important. We had obviously when we moved science from a special into the classroom, there was a lot of concern about being able to meet those minutes, and so one of my sort of hopes, silent hopes, was that they would be able to use that to strengthen that and hopefully alleviate some concerns. I do think next year as we implement it, I'd like to hear sort of how that's going, but I think that was a smart decision, and I appreciate that.
I did ask him to consider that when he was applying those minutes for that reason, because we knew we were really, even with the new model, we were still stretching and tight, and so this, I think, will be a really good opportunity, and I feel like since that's been implemented, I mean, the teachers are really soaring with they run out of time very quickly with science and social studies.
Okay. Any more? All right. We got a lot of board business. We're moving. No, keep moving. Sorry. All right. Updated enrollment, staffing needs. I guess the budget post-town meeting. So what has sort of been? We have our budget, so that's not changing. But obviously, what's happening underneath can change. Who am I turning this over to?
Enrollment.
Yeah. Enrollment, really what we're focused on enrollment is our kindergarten number. And in your folder is a enrollment document as well, and past history. It's really just an update of a document that you've received at a prior school committee meeting. The update to the kindergarten enrollment. As of today, we're at 159 students in kindergarten. There are 4 kind of that we're waiting for their forms to come back. So I would say like a true number is probably, I mean, the accurate technical number is 159. We're probably at 163 right now, and we will get some trickle in as well. And kind of following this conversation on enrollment and the budget and our staffing, we're going to talk about school choice. And in the document, you're going to see some kind of reference to school choice off highlighted in yellow as well. And I'll save it for that time. But those are, if you look at kind of our projection and our numbers, and I need to rerun that. So I guess the 2,370 is actually 2003. It's a different number. I need to run the math again, so just don't reference that. It's a few more than that. As we think about staffing, as it relates to the budget, we're not really any different than when town meeting went through and what passed on that. As I said, kind of with Commissioner Tutwiler's communication to us and to business administrators, I'm feeling very encouraged by circuit breaker. At that point, that's a significant amount of money for the town of Holliston, for Holliston and Holliston Public Schools if that were to go through. I think that that's something important as we think about how we kind of tightly got down to the 3.26%. That's going to serve as a great resource for us in the future.
Has there been any indication of, because I think one of the things that you're talking about is a fiscal year 25 change, right? For the transportation circuit breaker?
Well, it's a little bit about, like, kind of give you a little rundown of how we do circuit breaker is, circuit breaker is a 2-year amount. So right now, the circuit breaker amount that we're using, that's about $2.3 million. We're using it for tuition, and we received it. It's the circuit breaker from FY23 that we're using now in FY25 because it's the second year of when we received it. So the circuit breaker for FY25, what we're going to get this year, we historically would not use it until FY27 for that amount, but it's nice to know that we will have that big amount if necessary. That said, we got a pretty significant circuit breaker from FY24 that we're going to use in FY26, which is about $2.93 million. That will be is much more significant than what we've got in the past.
And just is the discussion about the boost in sort of, I think it's a transportation reimbursement.
Yep.
Are they looking at that as obviously it's subject to appropriation every year, but are they thinking that that's going to be something that's going to be sustainable?
Like year over year, as far as we're trying to retain that? I
just don't know if they've been talking about it.
They are putting that out there. I think that the problem with the transportation side, they've been very reliable as far as making sure that they get to the 75% reimbursement for the tuition. The transportation is last dollar, and that's where they've, at certain points in the budget process for the state, that they've gone from committing to 75% as the amount, and then by the time that, you know, the rubber hits the road and we're down to the remaining dollars that are in the state budget, you're down to 44%, 50%.
So it's always going to be hard to budget to include that in our budget for our projections.
Correct. Yeah. So we don't, and that's the nice thing of the way that Keith has set it up and left it in really good state for me is that, which is different than many districts, is we're not in a fiscal place where we have to spend our circuit breaker in the year that we receive it. We have that as so we know the amount we can budget for because we have it in hand already.
Yeah, it's a good practice to do it the way we do here, and other districts do, but there are many that have gotten themselves in a pickle and unfortunately went that route, and then there's no, when emergencies come, you have no backup.
And Dan is right, is the FY, we didn't have to project circuit breaker for its impact on our FY26 budget because we actually have that money now in our accounts.
I do want to talk about the enrollment again. I think there's just a quick typo. You probably caught it already, but when I looked at the difference between 25-26 and 24-25, my heart skipped, and because it would have been a decrease of 220 students, but the total should actually be 2,540 if you use your projected 170 number.
Got it.
So it's really only a decrease of 50, which again I'm not thrilled about. Like that we do have a enrollment decrease of 50 students, but that is actually not that much different than what we've seen over the last 2 years. Looking back, 23 to 24 was a decrease of about 40 students, and 22 to 23 was 50. So it's kind of a reflection of the decreasing enrollment we've seen over the last 3 years, but it's not as drastic of as at 220.
That's also before we do school choice seats. So would you?
No, these numbers are post-school choice.
No, but what you're looking at for next year.
No.
So the look back are post. They include the school choice.
But if you're looking at this column for next year, the projections, that's before we do school choice.
Right. If we filled every school choice seat, which we never have, we still wouldn't be at the same number because it's a drop. It's still a drop by 50, and if we filled all 41 school choice, we'd
right. So, but I'm just saying it's not.
But we're close.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can do most of that is that you've got 200 seniors, right, and then you've got a class that we're projecting to be 170 kindergartners. So most of that is coming just from the larger senior class rolling off in a smaller kindergarten class.
I guess the question I have is about grade 1, and I know they were low this year. Those are the existing kindergartners where we only have about 141 in comparison to next year's kindergarten projected at 170 and second grade projected at 171. Is there any appetite for giving back capacity to that grade so we don't have a bubble going through? Like, why didn't we open up 36 instead of 6 school choice seats?
So you can't.
I know. But
You can't. You're by school choice of the law. You can't open up a class. Like school choice is really just like to cap off. So like
to cap those classes.
To cap a class.
Okay.
So
so you don't have a really low number.
I know.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important that what we're looking at. We're projecting right now, and this has been consistent. Dr. Jordan's been at 170 since for many months now. But last year we were 141, so we're getting back to sort of 170, which is where our second grade class is. So I just think it's important because 141 was really scary, and we were looking at that and like, if that continues, we're in trouble. Hopefully that can continue and we can get back to the sort of more normalized 200. But I do take comfort in that. Are we still looking at current French immersion enrollment of about 34, 35?
we are. I think we're high. I think we're 18 and 8. So this is it's even. We have some that have we're adding to that, but I think I want to say, and I'm sure Dr. Slane is going to text me in the next 30 seconds. But I think,
sorry to put you on the spot.
No, well, you're putting her on the spot. I think she's listening. I bet if I hear my phone buzz while words are coming out of my mouth, I'll flip over my phone and get the answer. But I think we have added French immersion numbers, so I think we're at 18 and 18, but we also have, we're going to be opening up 6, I think either 5 French immersion kindergarten seats.
Which is on the other
And
document.
we do
Right,
have that number of applicants for French immersion.
So we're already at 18 and 18, and just to be clear, we sort of cap French immersion in a year where we have too many applicants at 46, right?
23,
Or 23 per
yes.
class.
Yep.
So we're really getting back to kind of in that range of where we want to be, whereas now we're at 15, I think.
Right, we were a little
class.
low, and so I did say to Jamie, please, when you send out, she was checking in on kindergarten enrollment, is there anyone that hasn't enrolled yet? And I said, please let people know that we have French immersion seats available, if they can still change if they have, so that was.
And
we did the same for first grade, I believe.
Based off of the applicants for school choice for French immersion, I'm feeling pretty confident they're going to accept those positions. But as Don was saying just a couple minutes ago, we might open up. You all vote to open up 41 seats. We're not going to fill 41 seats.
Right.
But it's good, and then it looks like Montessori is also ticked up. So that also.
Yes, Montessori I thought was really. Yeah.
What's the thought on 11th grade where, it's 18 students behind the 12th grade? Again, I'm not trying to fill a class, but why don't we have any offerings for that?
We've never historically filled 11th and 12th grade. I think conceptually, we like to add kindergarten, and then we want to educate them all the way through in our school system.
But also keep in mind, you can't add a class in high school because there's no. So you can. It's kind of an open number.
We just add high school seats. We just add high school seats. We don't choose like a grade. So it's just who applies for those high school seats.
And I know we're kind of talking about a little bit of both because it's here, but we also historically add a significant number of school choice seats in 9th grade. As they transition from 8th, we lose some to private schools in different spaces. So that's why, and you will always see year over year a high number, whether it's 8, 10 seats, 9 seats that we open up for 9th grade.
Why don't as part of this we just go right to the school choice recommendation, just since we're kind of on that subject.
We're immersed.
We're talking about it already. So.
We're in deep. Is everyone sitting down for this conversation? Oh boy. School choice seats? No. Okay.
I think they've got
Everybody else missing?
I have it now.
I have it up.
It's not like a backup.
I mean, yeah.
Where are we?
It's at the. No, wait. It's,
it's at the top.
So
No.
So David, so in previous years we would open up high school seats, not specific grades. We would just open up 9 through 12. Is there just a different philosophy that you're trying to open up a certain number at 9th and 10th?
I probably missed what Keith specifically presented to you all, but this is with a format that, in his notes that I have. So maybe he just didn't show that.
I think
to
it's
you.
just what showed up.
He
but
might have just
my
said high
understanding
school.
was we always did 9 through 12.
Sorry, speaking of text, I'm gonna get soon. I'm probably gonna
Yeah,
get.
okay, well, maybe he'll text you. Or text me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I could.
I think what he did just say high school seats and didn't get into the weeds on it, if my recollection is
9 to 12, 15.
Yeah, it's also because you can be in 10th grade and be taking something and get to 11th grade. You know what I mean? Like you can be taking
Well,
different classes.
and I think what's harder too, the later they enter.
Yeah,
if
it's
our
harder to
courses are
integrate,
different, it's
too.
harder than, especially with the schedule that we have, it's sometimes
Yeah.
harder for them to get what they need if they haven't been here all.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Susan's exactly right. You want 9th graders because so that you're not having to mess with all of their credits.
And we know
You don't want them to lose out. You know, we've had that conversation.
That being
before.
said, there could be some extraordinary circumstance in some other district, like maybe there's a student who's having a challenging time in Ashland, and they would reach out to us and say, is it okay if I move my student into Holliston?
Especially if they're like a
Yes.
star center.
Like, I don't think we should
something.
preclude that from happening.
Yeah, and
I think occasionally that has
I think it
happened.
occasionally, I mean, I know
Yeah.
it's happened the other way. So.
We do have that. So once you vote to open the seats, and as long as the applicants we extend it out and there no longer is a wait list on those spots, we do have times throughout the course of the year where there are exceptional situations that we school choice.
I think we just try to be flexible to allow for that.
So can we capitalize K?
Sorry?
Because it's bothering me. But, so just so I understand, so you're recommending 1 kindergarten traditional?
Yes.
And 5 kindergarten French?
Yes.
Okay. And so do we, are all the, and so that I'm just making sure I get the nomenclature. Do we have applicants for all of these seats currently?
Yes.
Okay. The one I would like us to consider opening, and you can tell me how horrible an idea this is in just a second, it's fair, would be on our French immersion, and if we have capacity in Montessori, would be to open up the number of seats that would allow us to get to the maximum number that we would allow in each class for those specific ones.
So I think for the Montessori, just the way the Montessori goes is in the younger grades they have the kindergarten ones is the preschool and kindergarten. So you have 11 or 12 kindergartners and then how many? I think it's 10 preschoolers. So that's why that number.
Okay, so we don't need to do anything for Montessori.
That is like the full amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is the full amount.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't want to. I wouldn't want to
I will say
ignore them.
Jamie is texting me, so I got my answer on the French. It is 18 and 18. But
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie.
Also, to that question, we do our policy kind of has indicates like
Over summer.
17 or 18 or whatever is the cap for those young ones.
I thought it was 23.
For the big, I think it's for kindergarten and first. I think it's. I'd have to look back, but I'm
Immersion
pretty.
is definitely 20.
No, it's 23, it's 46 total, so it's 23 for each class.
Yeah.
Right, I
But,
think it's just
but we still need to make sure that we have, like, there might be summer enroll, and we're required to allow them to go in too, so.
No, we're
we have a little
required
bit of-
to allow them to have a seat in kindergarten.
You're right, you're right.
Rather than French immersion.
Yeah, I understand that, but.
So
and I think that right now we are going to need, as we talked about, that might happen. We are needing to shift a teacher to kindergarten, which we had not planned on budgetarily, because we are up to pretty close to max in traditional.
Well, that's interesting.
we are.
'Cause I thought you were
that's-
going to be transitioning somebody the other direction.
I would.
We have a little bit of both.
Right, but doing that in French immersion wouldn't change it if we went up to sort of allowed up to our policy maximum. I just want to really make sure, and I wanted to do this for Montessori, but it sounds like Montessori is fine, is just to really make sure that we have
Fill the classes.
fill the classes in and are really supporting,
Through the years.
really supporting that.
Yeah.
But just to open seats up for additional, I was going to look up the policy, but I don't really, that's, so maybe we vote on this and you can kind of work with Dr. Slaney and get her sort of recommendation to open some capacity to allow you to accept school choice in both kindergarten and first grade French over the summer. Obviously, the preference would be if someone moves to town and they apply before a school choice person, but I wouldn't want to turn away a school choice applicant if we have a spot, but just the school committee hasn't opened it up and we're not meeting, and so therefore,
You could vote to open more seats.
Right, that's what I'm, so,
You have the option to do that.
Can we flip back to the enrollment table once more? What is
Right, but
all
we
the
don't
way
meet
on the
often,
right
so.
where it says current SC 24-25?
Yeah.
It starts with 8, ends with 15. What is that?
That's this year.
This
This is what we voted last year
Yeah.
to open up school choice, so we can compare that to what's being recommended this year. Okay, I got it now.
So we have a lot less seats in high school though, this year.
That we open up. We have. Sorry, this is the number of on the far right are the current kids in each one of those grades that are school
That
choice.
makes more sense.
So
Yeah.
like
It's like those are
in
high
12th
numbers.
grade, there are 15 kids,
we're giving
but I
everyone
guarantee
accepted.
probably the majority of them joined us in kindergarten.
Understood. That makes more
Right, so,
sense.
so we have 15 seniors right now that are school choice graduates. So if we're looking at incremental dollars too, we need to, the first 15 are just replacing budgetarily what we have today.
Well,
But we're looking at the number that we're projecting the 209 in 12th grade for next year. Despite that, do you know what I mean? That 15 is part of our 200 in 12th grade right now.
right.
Yeah, but I will say, as far as school choice is a revenue that you get from the state. We're doing a service, but we're also receiving a revenue for it. while we were opening up 41 seats, we would, in order to break even on the revenue that we collect, we need those 15 back and everybody to stay in place.
And we feel pretty confident that we have the applications so far.
We do.
Yeah, especially those French immersion
But
ones.
sometimes they say no. Even when and sometimes you apply for school choice at 4 different schools, right?
But less so at the younger grades. Younger grades are
We expect most of the existing school choice kids to return.
yeah, returned. Yeah.
We hope so.
So we have 63 applicants right now.
How many was last year?
I'd have to look at
I thought we had like 90 last year.
Stop being difficult, Frank.
Don't quote me on that. Honestly.
I was trying to win there, give you a big number. And like, I think last year was
I think
90.
it was around 90 last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because Keith did it. I kid. Okay, so I'm okay starting with this, but then would like a recommendation on sort of opening some capacity, if you will. Is that do people?
Especially if it's at the younger grade.
No, in first grade and second,
Yeah.
in kindergarten and first grade, and really just French immersion because we would, unless there are other.
I don't know if there aren't any other French immersions, just those 5
No, that's
people,
the
right?
total
Yeah,
that
that's
we
the
have.
total.
No, capacity to get.
No, I get it.
Because obviously, we've adjusted the current kindergarten class. We're adjusting the first grade sort of staff to meet those kids. So that would be
Yeah. It won't change.
Right.
Like, yeah.
So where are you asking? What? This is specifically French immersion.
Okay, so we have 18 is 36.
Yeah.
We have 5 kindergarten French immersion seats that you're recommending. So that would bring us to what, 41?
Yes, 20 and 21.
And so in theory, what I'm saying is, could we open up 5 additional seats to get us to 46?
Yeah.
That would be my and I would want Dr. Slaney to weigh in on it, and we don't need to do that now, but that would be so to give you the flexibility over the summer so that we don't need to.
Would we reopen up though enrollment ability to apply school choice because we only have
So
63.
we opened it up, the application process, but they can still put an application in later, right?
Yeah, like I'm not telling anybody no right now.
Okay.
It's more that so that we can engage in this process, that you're wanting a deadline for it.
And then the other thing is obviously, if we have do we have 5 kids interested in first grade French immersion?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
fantastic.
That is awesome.
Because we were worried about that year and the sustainability of
Right, but now that would bring the class to 35. So could we do 10 in that one too? Because obviously we're not going to get
Yeah.
10 more. So 5. So.
That would make it to 41. Are you talking about the first or the kindergarten?
So now on to first grade.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no,
Can I just
I
go
skip
back to
around.
French immersion for a second? So we always started out with it being like 23 and 23 because we expect some attrition, right?
Right.
So from kindergarten into first grade, maybe you lose like 3 kids or somebody moves out of town. And so like over the first few years, you expect it to have a smaller class. That being said, I feel like the students who are coming in right now in the post-COVID time are coming with less of the other skills that I think that it warrants us being more mindful of having a smaller class size to start out. So I don't know whether it makes sense for us to start at 23 students for each of those.
But that's why I want
classes.
Dr. Slaney
Right, which is why
weigh
I
in.
hope that she could weigh in on
And I was
that.
just sort of thinking too, if you have 30 kids in French immersion in the first grade now, and we're adding 5, right? You're adding 1/6 increase, right, of kids who may not necessarily have the same skill set as the current. If you did. And this is why, again, I'd want Dr. Slaney to speak to the first grade math, to the first grade French immersion teachers. If you did 10 seats, right now, you'd have a quarter of your new class who weren't in French immersion in kindergarten. And how does that impact? How did that impact the learning?
Well, in previous years, you would, if students came in after kindergarten. Well, I guess kindergarten or first grade, they would get assessed to see whether it was appropriate for them to come in before they did.
Oh, I didn't know. Do we do assessments for first grade?
So if I thought it was second, I don't want to.
It might be, you might be right about it coming in at second, but I think that there were.
Allow that because they're not as advanced as second. I know second for sure, we do have a little test if someone comes in and they have a certain fluency.
So why don't we vote this recommendation tonight, and then you can go back to Dr. Slaney and find out what sort of the cap is, and if there's or what her and her the teachers are comfortable with, and if there's additional seats, then we can open up capacity to allow for that.
That's not right.
It's a good starting point.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then,
One text from Dr.
do we need, is there, I can't remember, is school choice, do we need some formal language or something for opening up
You
seats?
do have to vote because we have to submit it by June 1st,
Yeah, I don't
right?
believe
No, we need to vote, but is there anything specific we need to vote on, like, is
No,
it?
we just vote on the number of
Just-
seats
I think you
as
just vote.
presented.
Last year's,
All right, so
Can you
I'll,
just change the number of the total number to 2533
Yeah.
that we currently have at the bottom there?
Well,
It says
the
total.
number should be 2540 because he's projecting 170. I
Okay.
hear you on the
That's what I think on the
160.
Yeah, yeah.
we're voting on the seats, though. We're not voting on the enrollment.
I know, but it's
Just
just a
wants the-
document.
I'll-
I want the
Yeah, I'm
document
100%
reflected.
changing it. I got my little note here to change in the actual
Just
document.
wanted to be accurate.
You can't vote on the enrollment number.
Yeah, this is, you're just voting on
No,
the
it's just,
seats.
it's just the number was added incorrectly,
so-
or as a typo, that's all.
So I'll entertain a motion
It's a typo.
to approve opening up, I think, 41 total school choice seats as presented in the recommendation from Dr. Guska
Jordan.
and Dr. Jordan.
Thank you. Second.
No, can you let Cynthia?
Yes.
have a vote?
No, she's got it. I would.
Seconded, thank you.
All right, Joe,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Sarah, Cynthia,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Hillary.
Yes.
And I apologize, Hillary, did you have anything to add? It's easy to forget people on Zoom, okay.
It is.
And I'm a yes as well. So we're there, and then if we have subsequent recommendations, we can fix it up. Okay,
Last topic.
moving, we're so far ahead right now.
Because you skipped an
Find a
hour
way
on the
to go
agenda.
off
that day. You go from 8:30 to 9:15.
I do that to keep you on your toes, and that way we can
We
end
were
early.
wondering, how did we get to 10 o'clock?
Why did we do school choice?
It's not that
Looking for school choice.
That was a little Easter egg, okay?
extended.
Okay, so now an update on the extended day program. I know we discussed new rates, and you were going to communicate those out. How is that going, and have we been able to figure out more capacity to get some of the...
I'm going to hand off to David after I just say thank you, David. And David and I have been working very closely with the extended day staff because I think we would agree that it was sent out prematurely. That was not something that neither David or I were aware of, that the current parents that have children in the program had already gotten recommendations, but they had not been vetted through David and me. And once we saw that, we immediately started working on that. But it took some time with the school start times changes. That changed the minutes, so we did a complete overhaul. And I feel like the team now is ready to go, and I think they've got that information all ready to go and maybe even out already.
Yeah, we met with them earlier this week just to kind of, was it this week or last week?
It was this week again, Monday, I think.
Just to finalize and say they are good to communicate those out to the community as far as the tuition numbers. We did share those tuition numbers in budget sub to kind of review and make sure that, showed the logic as far as that was used to kind of reach the numbers that we're on. And I think we reached at a good place. We felt comfortable with the tuition numbers that were going forward. So that should be communicated. As soon as they are able to craft the document they need to put out, they're going to be putting those tuition numbers out. They were very accommodating as far as like our largest waitlist group, which is our kindergarten waitlist. They were in our conversation. We kind of looked and analyzed as far as where they're staffing and where we could shift staffing. We're able to open up additional seats to lower the waitlist specifically in kindergarten in total. So in 2025, so we're looking at as far as the number of students that we have will have enrolled is equates to about 251 students. This past year, this current year, we are currently at 224 students. So that's just a pretty significant increase of students that we're going to have. Just so that you have
Is that just kindergarten or?
no, so total, this is the total. Kindergarten, so just to kind of focus on, I guess, on the kindergarten, we have 34 students that we're going to enroll in kindergarten for this year. Last year was 18. So we opened up, and they were great about opening up a significant number of seats for Holliston. But just to give you some reference, the total number of students we had 23-24 was 191, with 55 that stayed on the wait list. This year was 224, with 44 students still on the wait list. And this year we're at
next year
we're at 251, with 63 currently on the wait list.
But what will happen as he confirms seats, because they'll send out another thing like, are you definitely committing, when they pay their down payment, and then we'll end up moving some of that 63. So
Correct.
Even though it says 63 now, it could get much closer.
Yeah,
to where we are
your
this year.
44 and 63 are not a comparable number, because the 63 will go down as people say no to their spot.
Do we know about how much movement there usually is for folks? I know that it's...
I don't have a good finger on what that
Okay.
is, just to know that the trend looking year over year, it just goes down. Once we actually publicize this out, once it actually the rubber hits the road, we end up not. And I know that one thing that Kathy and Helen spent some time talking with, asking us that we won't be able to necessarily do for. We decided it's a lot of change. We won't do it for this year, but we're going to do this is a deposit for the families, because I think they get stuck at the last minute where they're in like July, August, and a family says, "Nah, I'm not coming there," and it's too late to reach out to one of your wait lists.
Wanted it, right? So again, we want to commit as many as we can, and that's what we're working.
Right.
And I thank you. I appreciate all the work that you did on this. I know Hillary and I were at an office hour in March, and someone had come with lots of questions about this. And
we had the same questions, Dawn, and I think that David and I were both concerned, because we have never been that involved in that process, but because of the start time changes, it was like the perfect storm.
It was an impact
and it had always been managed by the director and the assistant director, so there hadn't been a need. They usually met with Keith and adjusted like an hourly rate based on COLA or, going to staff.
Right.
But that is why we actually, because of the changes, we also asked them not to increase the hourly, correct? So that the only change you might see is if the child is now, because of the change in time, going to be there longer.
And that's being explained to parents, right? Because there's parents in there right now, some of them are a sizable jump because of that 2-hour difference every day.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the part that, a good point in what we talked a little bit at budget sub, as far as like somehow some type of way to communicate, a clear type of communication, understand that what they will pay in a year, a parent who's historically have it, may increase because that specific program increased a significant number of hours total. So therefore, but the rate per hour has not changed. Now, as the number of bulk hours increased, we did do kind of a reduction in the rate, about a 5% reduction. Similarly, is that if in the hourly rate, is if hours significantly decrease to a smaller number, there's a little bit of a premium, a 5% premium on those numbers. So there, as you can, it's more expensive to run it for the shorter because you have to staff it still. So you do, the larger the program, the smaller the hourly cost.
Yeah, so in some cases, now that the child might be there longer hours, but they would be paying less per hour.
Yes.
But so that's the part that gets tricky for people, because they're just looking at the overall and not.
Families that are less hours now than they did are paying less, but
it's a premium rate.
Yeah. But they're still paying less than
overall. Yes. Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense.
Okay, so that's good. And again, I know you're doing this, but just anything we can do to get people who are on the wait list who want a spot off, just especially given this year when we changed the start times, and it's having a pretty significant impact on some families.
And I had suggested we try to get a deposit now, but that wasn't advertised that way. But we do with kindergarten. So I mean, what we used to do with kindergarten, but now we do with preschool, get a deposit in the spring.
Well, you just start making your quarterly payments very early.
Yes, and I think we need to start the same with extended day, get a more firm deposit earlier.
Okay. That does bring us to the end of our regular agenda, I think, if we hit everything. Okay, we do have a need for executive session. Our next full committee meeting will be on May 29th. We do have a meeting this coming Monday. It should be fairly short, and so I didn't want to get HCAT, all ramped up with all this, so I told them they didn't need to, but people are obviously, it's an open meeting, people can attend. But with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session from which we will not return to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. Do I have a motion? Do I hear that motion?
So moved. Second.
That does, as everything has tonight, require a roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Sarah? Yes. Cynthia?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So thank you very much, everyone, and good night, and thank you, Cynthia.